The loudest minds aren't always the smartest. Sometimes brilliance thrives in silence. Welcome back, Ascenders. You already know this isn't a place for ordinary content. And today, we're not just scratching the surface of intelligence, we're dissecting the DNA of a very specific kind of mind, the Sigma mind. There's a myth floating around that intelligence is about how much you talk, how many degrees hang on your wall, or how fast you can quote statistics. That's surface level. That's performative. Sigma males are wired differently. Their intelligence isn't noisy. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't need external permission to exist. It operates quietly, strategically, like a submarine beneath chaotic waters, undetected, but always present. You don't see a Sigma's full mind because it's not offered on display. It's protected, guarded, refined in silence. And that's why people misunderstand it. They confuse lack of social performance with lack of depth. But today, we're setting the record straight. This episode is not about common traits. You've heard all the recycled stuff. Sigmas are lone wolves. They don't follow the crowd. Blah, blah, blah. Let's leave the cliches for the comment section. We're going deeper. You're about to see 10 high-level reasons why Sigma males aren't just different, they're mentally dangerous. Why their intelligence isn't just academic or social, but strategic, adaptable, and often decades ahead of their time. These are not traits you'll see in mainstream advice columns. This is operating system-level insight, the stuff behind the stuff. And if you listen close, you may just recognize some of this wiring in yourself. Now, before we dive in, I'll ask one thing. If this kind of content hits home, if you're here because you think differently, live differently, and you're building something deeper, then subscribe to Sigma Ascends and become part of the movement. We're not here to impress the crowd. We're here to build elite minds. This is your space, Ascenders. Let's unlock the code. 1. The shadow download Sigma males are not known for speaking the loudest in the room, and that's by design. They operate like high-functioning surveillance systems, quietly observing, absorbing, storing. While others talk to fill the silence, Sigmas study the silence. Every interaction, every subtle shift in tone, body language, and expression becomes part of their mental archive. They watch how people move, how they contradict themselves, what they say under pressure. This constant scanning isn't paranoia, it's data collection. But here's where it gets deeper. Most people listen to respond. Sigmas listen to decode. They process patterns across time, recognizing inconsistencies and extracting meaning from what's unsaid. Their intelligence doesn't come from the noise. It comes from the quiet spaces in between. The world is so distracted by volume, it often misses the details that matter. Sigmas don't. This shadow download gives them an almost predictive edge. When others are surprised by a person's behavior, Sigmas saw it coming 10 steps back. Not because they're psychic, but because they were paying attention when no one else was. It's the kind of intelligence that can't be taught. It has to be earned through discipline, detachment, and long-term thinking. Even socially, this makes Sigmas powerful in one-on-one dynamics. People often reveal more than they intend to in the presence of someone who doesn't try to dominate the conversation. Sigmas use this to their advantage, not manipulatively, but strategically. They gain access to people's inner architecture without even asking. That's not luck. That's design. And while most are overwhelmed by information overload, Sigmas thrive in it. They have an internal filter that organizes data based on relevance, purpose, and future utility. Their minds work like private servers, not public clouds, secure, self-managed, and selective. This allows them to form unique perspectives, often years ahead of mainstream thought. In a world where intelligence is often mistaken for how fast someone can speak or how much jargon they can use, the Sigma flips the script. They're not just smart, they're strategically silent. And that silence, it's their edge. 2. Cognitive rebellion. To understand Sigma intelligence, you need to understand their refusal. They refuse to accept something just because it's widely believed. They refuse traditional education paths if they don't serve purpose. They even refuse praise if it feels like manipulation. This isn't rebellion for the sake of drama. It's rebellion in the service of clarity. Cognitive rebellion is the Sigma's way of rejecting pre-installed software. While most minds operate on default settings, absorbing beliefs from parents, culture, media, Sigmas treat every idea like a questionable file. They scan it, challenge it, and sometimes delete it altogether. What's left is a thought system that's intentionally built. This approach makes them highly adaptive thinkers. While others cling to comforting lies or social norms, Sigmas deal in mental reality. They know not all traditions are truth, and not all truth is convenient. That makes them uncomfortable for some, but valuable in crisis. When the usual playbook fails, everyone turns to the person who's been questioning it all along. Cognitive rebellion also drives their learning style. They don't just consume information, they dissect it. A Sigma reading a book isn't just looking for answers. They're watching the author's assumptions, the logic, the bias. They're training themselves not just to absorb, but to upgrade the ideas. And the most important aspect, Sigmas aren't loud about it. They don't need to shout their opinions. The rebellion happens quietly, inside their head. But the results, massive. It's what makes them visionary, unpredictable, and often years ahead of their time. Third solitude engineering Sigmas don't escape to solitude. They engineer it. They don't just want alone time. They structure it as an environment for high-performance thinking. While others view isolation as loneliness, Sigmas use it like oxygen. In silence, their thoughts become sharper. In stillness, they build. This isn't just about peace, it's about power. Solitude becomes their personal lab, their dojo, their boardroom. Problems are broken down and rebuilt. Strategies are tested mentally before they ever become action. And in that mental workshop, Sigmas access something others rarely reach: deep cognition. Most people stay in shallow waters of thought, reactive, emotional, cluttered. Sigma males go deep. They aren't just scrolling or zoning out during alone time. They're refining ideas, building mental systems, healing from noise. Solitude gives them bandwidth, and with that, they outthink entire crowds. This also explains their resistance to groupthink. A Sigma who's been alone with his mind isn't easily swayed by collective fear or hype. He's calibrated. He knows where he stands because he's designed that stance through solitary reflection. That kind of stability is rare and powerful. Even creatively, solitude is their edge. Great writers, thinkers, inventors all knew this. Sigma males live it. They don't chase moments of inspiration. They manufacture them by consistently returning to that engineered space of quiet power. It's not antisocial. It's intelligent, self-sculpting. 4. Emotion firewalls. People often mistake Sigma males as emotionally detached, but the truth is more complex and more calculated. Sigmas don't lack emotion. They process it differently. Think of it as a firewall system. Feelings are received, examined, and then routed strategically, not impulsively. That emotional regulation is not weakness. It's next-level intelligence. Most people are ruled by emotion. They get triggered, they react, and they regret. But Sigmas, they observe the emotion, trace its origin, and choose the response. It's the difference between reacting and responding. One is instinctual, the other is intentional. Sigmas master the latter. This doesn't mean Sigmas are robots. In fact, they often feel deeply. But they see emotion as fuel, not fire. They know how to harness emotion to drive decisions, fuel creativity, and connect authentically without letting it control them. That's rare. That's smart. In stressful environments, this firewall approach gives Sigmas a unique edge. While others spiral in panic or overreact, Sigmas stay centered. They're not immune. They're insulated. That calm under pressure makes them exceptional leaders, tacticians, and problem solvers. They can be the eye in the storm when everyone else is chaos. And when it comes to relationships, this emotional firewall prevents manipulation. Sigmas are not easily guilt-tripped, emotionally blackmailed, or dragged into drama. Why? Because they see the emotional mechanics behind people's actions. They understand when a compliment is a trap, or when an argument is a power play. That insight protects their peace and sharpens their judgment. Even internally, Sigmas do the work. They reflect, they journal, they process. They don't run from their emotions, they analyze them. This builds emotional intelligence on a deep level. Not the performative kind, but the kind that creates long-term stability, clarity, and empathy that isn't forced. The truth is, the Sigma's emotional firewall isn't a wall, it's a filter. It lets in what's useful, blocks what's toxic, and protects what's real. That's not cold, that's crafted. 5. Pattern vision. Sigma males don't just see what's in front of them, they see what it means. Pattern vision is their cognitive superpower, the ability to spot trends, behaviors, cycles, and systems that others miss. It's like having an internal radar that picks up on the architecture behind everyday life. In conversations, they notice micro-expressions. In business, they anticipate shifts before the market does. In friendships, they detect loyalty or betrayal before it's obvious. This isn't paranoia, it's pattern recognition, and it makes Sigmas excellent strategists, investors, decision-makers, and creators. But it goes deeper. Sigmas connect dots across unrelated fields. A book on biology sparks an idea in marketing. A trend in human behavior hints at future political shifts. This cross-domain awareness isn't just smart, it's visionary. It allows them to innovate instead of imitate. That's why Sigmas often seem like they're operating 3 to 5 years ahead of everyone else. Pattern vision also makes them immune to hype. While others chase the newest trend, Sigmas trace its life cycle. They know when something is peaking, when it's dying, and when to exit before the crowd does. That's not luck. It's observation paired with discipline. This is also why Sigmas are hard to fool. Lies, manipulation, inconsistency, it all leaves a digital footprint. Sigmas don't just listen to words, they watch timing, tone, body language, and motive. That allows them to navigate relationships, deals, and life decisions with accuracy that feels surgical. In short, Sigma intelligence doesn't come from guessing, it comes from tracking. They see the threads others ignore. They read the code underneath the interface, and they play long games most don't even know exist. 6. Mental minimalism. The Sigma mind doesn't like clutter, mental, emotional, or social. That's not just a lifestyle choice. It's a high-efficiency cognitive strategy called mental minimalism. Sigmas believe that simplicity isn't boring, it's powerful. Every thought, every decision, every input is filtered for clarity and purpose. They don't argue just to argue. They don't engage in gossip. They don't waste bandwidth chasing trends, drama, or fake validation. Why? Because that kind of noise slows down thinking. And for a Sigma, thinking is the engine. They protect it like it's sacred. Mental minimalism means they curate their environment with precision. They choose what to read, who to follow, and what to focus on with surgical intent. It's not about being cold or distant, it's about being clear. Clarity allows them to think without fog, to execute without hesitation. It also means they know how to say no. No to distractions, no to social expectations, no to energy vampires. Sigmas are highly selective with their time and attention. That focus isn't selfish, it's tactical, because every yes to nonsense is a no to progress. Even internally, Sigmas declutter their mind. Through journaling, reflection, digital detoxing, or deep work sessions, they continuously clean the operating system. While others let thoughts run wild, Sigmas reprogram theirs for performance, not popularity. And the result? A calm, focused, lethal kind of intelligence. One that isn't overwhelmed by life, but orchestrates it. Minimalism isn't emptiness. For the Sigma, it's mental clarity in its purest form. 7. Silence as a strategy. Silence isn't awkward for Sigma males. It's intentional. While the world fills every second with noise, Sigmas use silence like a weapon. It's not emptiness to them, it's bandwidth. Space to think, space to read a room, space to control a conversation without even speaking. They understand something most people overlook. Silence makes people uncomfortable, and in that discomfort, people reveal more. They rush to fill the gap. They overshare. They expose their intentions. Sigmas use that. Every pause is a data point. Every moment of quiet is tactical. In conversations, Sigmas aren't racing to respond. They're calculating. They're listening beyond the words, hearing what's being said, what's not being said, and why. That level of attention gives them the ability to respond in a way that lands. Not just to sound smart, but to be precise. Silence also protects their mental space. When Sigmas are quiet, they're not disengaged. They're observing, adjusting, analyzing. It's a form of dominance that doesn't require ego. Others need to speak to prove their value. Sigmas speak only when it matters. That difference is powerful. In leadership, this silent strategy creates a sense of mystery and command. People don't know what a Sigma is thinking, and that keeps them guessing. That unpredictability becomes a kind of soft power. When a Sigma does speak, people lean in, because it's rare, and it means something. And in personal growth, silence is where they hear their real thoughts, not the ones shaped by social media or peer pressure, but the ones that come from the core. That's where self-awareness is built. That's where vision is born. For the Sigma, silence isn't the absence of thought. It's the source of thought. It's where they refine their strategy, their direction, and their edge. 8. Cross-domain thinking. Most people specialize in one field and stay there. Sigmas do the opposite. They pull knowledge from everywhere, then connect the dots in ways no one else sees. This is called cross-domain thinking, and it's one of the most underrated forms of intelligence. A Sigma might read neuroscience in the morning, study philosophy at lunch, and dive into AI tech by night. To outsiders, it looks random, but to a Sigma, it's synergistic. They're building a mental web of ideas, insights, and patterns that span across disciplines. That gives them a massive creative and strategic edge. While others are locked into their niche, Sigmas are building hybrid thinking. This allows them to solve problems in unconventional ways, create innovations from crossovers, and understand people and systems with rare depth. For example, a Sigma who understands psychology can apply it to leadership, branding, negotiation, or even family dynamics. A Sigma who studies ancient philosophy can apply Stoic principles to decision-making, stress management, and emotional control. Nothing is siloed. Everything connects. This mindset also means Sigmas are never intellectually bored. There's always another frontier, another system to unpack, another lens to view the world through. Their mind is like a switchboard connecting dozens of frequencies, and they know how to tune into each one for maximum insight. Cross-domain thinking makes them hard to compete with. While most people improve linearly in one area, Sigmas grow diagonally, exponentially, unpredictably. That's why they often seem like they're just built different. They're not better, they're broader, and their depth comes from variety, not repetition. In a world obsessed with specialization, Sigmas become dangerous generalists, not because they know a little about a lot, but because they know how to synthesize a lot into something powerful. 9. Anti-validation mode. One of the most liberating Sigma traits is that they operate in anti-validation mode. That means they don't chase approval, applause, or attention. Their intelligence isn't up for vote, and that makes their thinking fearless. Most people think in public. Sigmas think in private. They don't broadcast every idea for likes. They refine ideas in silence, test them quietly, and act without needing anyone to agree first. That kind of independence creates unfiltered intelligence, free from bias, peer pressure, or groupthink. This gives Sigmas a unique edge in creativity and strategy. Because they're not trying to impress, they're free to explore bold, unpopular, or even strange ideas. They don't fear being misunderstood in the moment because they're playing a longer game. Validation seeking leads to conformity. Sigmas resist that. They understand that popular isn't always right, and right isn't always popular. They've trained themselves to validate their own thinking through logic, results, and intuition, not applause. This also affects how they navigate relationships. They don't change their personality to fit a crowd. They don't chase people or social circles for status. They don't dress, talk, or think to fit in. That's not rebellion. It's authentic calibration. Anti-validation mode is mental freedom. And with that freedom, Sigmas make sharper decisions, take smarter risks, and stay grounded when others lose themselves in trends or emotions. It's what makes them resilient in failure, humble in success, and consistent in identity. In a world addicted to attention, the Sigma's indifference is revolutionary. While others bend to be liked, Sigmas build to be true. That's rare, that's dangerous, and that's why their intelligence stands alone. 10. Strategic absence. Here's a secret weapon most people overlook: knowing when to disappear. For Sigma males, absence isn't weakness, it's strategy. While others burn out chasing relevance, Sigmas withdraw to recharge, rebuild, and recalibrate. Strategic absence is about energy management. It's about knowing that presence costs energy, and sometimes the smartest move isn't to push harder, but to pause smarter. In those quiet gaps, the Sigma regains clarity, analyzes the field, and upgrades the game plan. This isn't quitting, it's retreat with purpose. While the world equates hustle with success, Sigmas understand that silence is leverage. When they vanish, they're not gone. They're sharpening, reading, building, experimenting, aligning. It's also about unpredictability. The Sigma doesn't let the world map them. They move irregularly, think counterintuitively, and reappear when it matters most. This creates a mystique that others can't decode. It keeps their rivals unprepared and their allies guessing. Even socially, strategic absence builds respect. When you're always available, people undervalue your presence. When you pull back with intention, you amplify your impact. Sigmas master this balance. They show up when it counts, and when they do, they hit with precision. In a culture addicted to constant visibility, the Sigma's ability to disappear and evolve in silence is a high-level mental play. They don't need the spotlight. They build in the shadows, and when they return, they don't ask for space. They own it. And that, Ascenders, was the architecture. We just walked through 10 unseen mechanisms, 10 intellectual pressure points that explain why the Sigma male mind doesn't just function, it dominates quietly. You've seen how Sigmas don't chase validation, they create internal alignment. You've seen how silence isn't weakness, it's bandwidth. You've seen how pattern recognition, solitude engineering, and emotional firewalls aren't just quirks, they're tactical advantages. You've seen how strategic absence and cross-domain thinking aren't weird, they're rare, and they're lethal in the right hands. Now let's be clear, this isn't about putting Sigmas on a pedestal. This is about showing you that intelligence is no longer what school taught you. It's not GPA. It's not memorization. It's not talking over people in meetings. Real intelligence in today's world. It's independence of thought. It's the ability to listen without reacting, to see the system without being owned by it, to think without needing permission. That's Sigma. And if that resonates with you, if you've always felt a little off from the mainstream, less interested in impressing, more obsessed with improving, then maybe you're not out of place. Maybe you're just in the early stages of your ascent. This is your tribe, these are your people, and this channel, Sigma Ascends, is your signal. Here, we're not building followers, we're building high-performance minds. We're not chasing hype, we're designing strategy. And we're not speaking for attention. We're speaking because silence has a limit, and some things must be said. So I'll leave you with this. In a world full of noise, be the signal. In a world chasing fast answers, ask better questions. And in a world built to distract, protect your attention like gold. Subscribe, share this with one sharp mind you know, and leave a comment telling me which of these 10 traits hit hardest for you. Until next time, stay focused, stay untraceable, stay dangerously intelligent, and above all, stay ascending.